Out at the 54th ANC elective conference, we hear vote counting for the new leadership is in full swing and the top 6 results are to be announced soon. And of course, who will become the next ANC leader? The battle lines have been drawn. It is NDZ versus CR17. Nazrek, take it away. Good afternoon, Francis.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Yeah, and the developments are more nail-biting, waiting for those results. Like you said, the counting underway. The talk is those results could come in between 4 p.m. and 7 o'clock tonight. So basically, any time from now. And just to recap what you were saying, 4,779 delegates voted to win one of these presidential candidates. It's a two-horse race. We'll need to get 2,389 votes. While we wait, let's look back at some of the major developments, and one of the, perhaps it can even be called a bombshell, although there's been talk of this coming for months. It was on the cards, then off the cards. But President Jacob Zuma announcing in his political report that there will be fee-free education within the next 5 years. A lot of analysis since then, was Treasury prepared? Is this populist, or is this something needed, given that it's been proposed by the ANC at various other conferences in the past? So let's speak to somebody who this affects quite profoundly, the relatively new Minister for Higher Education and Training, and that's Hlengiwe Mkhize. Thank you for being with us, Minister. But before we get to education, are you willing to nail your colours to the wall like some of our guests have been today, and put yourself in one of the camps?
Yeah, well, I think the emphasis has been on finding a reconciliatory position. You saw people standing up like Hlengiwe Mkhize, Nomvula. So, I mean, I'm one of those who have been really working hard to make sure that we defend the soul of the ANC.
Okay, so your vote is secret?
Yeah.
Tell us about the voting process. You had to wait until the early hours, like most delegates. Was that arduous, or was there a sense of camaraderie?
Well, I think there's excitement. This 5-year voting period, it's amazing. It's almost like everybody waits for these 5 years to come and be able to make up your mind. Big decisions about your country. So, and also this was really exciting for the first time in the history of the ANC since the ANC here in South Africa since 1991 conference, is to really see women candidates, female, standing up, wanting to be counted in big numbers. So it has been exciting in a variety of ways.
Is this the huge watershed that people are talking about, or could the party emerge united and better under either one of these candidates? Or is this a big decision?
No, but I think the leadership has emphasized that even in the run-up to the conference. And also, it's like when there has been a fight, people get tired, they get exhausted. I think everybody is looking for the ANC they've lost. There's generally a desire to say, let's work together. I mean, I was looking even at the WhatsApp groups. Everybody's saying, no splinter group after this. Enough with what happened in the past. So I think everybody has this desire of unity, and somewhere even saying, this has been a year of OR Tambo, but have we been really unified? At least we have an opportunity. So there's a desire across all the people that I interact with.
Okay. Looking back on the year, I think it's only been since October that you've been Minister of Higher Education. Did you know that this was coming, the President's announcement?
Not really, but some of us who are deployed, you don't build a permanent infrastructure in your deployment. In some instances, when you have an office, you'll take all the pictures, your certificate, whatever. I don't know, with the political deployment, you sit, you work hard on day one because you say, it might change tomorrow. So I didn't know, in short.
Is it that a problem for you? Do you feel like the president should have at least told you as Minister of Higher Education, who's dealing with higher education?
Yeah, he assumes we understand the policies. You are part of cabinet committees. You know, you understand the basics and the principles of each and every portfolio. You know, that's why the way we work, I have no reason not to know what's going on in another sector. Let's say the economy. In my case, it's worse. I was in higher education earlier on during the first administration of this government. So people will be surprised when I said, this deployment is too much for me. They would say, but you were there before. So it's really continued interaction, but of course at a serious different level.
Are you saying, correct me if I'm wrong, that it was okay for the president to make this announcement without informing you because in a sense it was on the cards?
You mean the announcement
of fee-free education?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the reshuffle and the redeployment.
No, the fee-free education.
You know the fee-free education, you know that the president released the report of Judge Hare. On the day, before he released it, that was my first assignment. We as the department, we said, Mr. President, the sooner you release this, the better for us to engage the stakeholders like USEF, a committee of university vice chancellors, the registrars, and all the stakeholders, including the students. He did that. We got a report. Then we started a due process. The ministerial committee, the technical committee, who was there? Treasury at a DG level, in my department at a DG level, monitoring and evaluation at a DG level. So they worked day and night. I remember one evening they briefed even the officials, the outgoing officials of the ANC. We stayed with them till about 2 a.m. raising critical questions. Cabinet was briefed. Then there was a ministerial committee which met for the last time on Wednesday. And the Minister of Finance was the one who was, you know, who clarified things. He said, you've come a long way. I had set my ceiling somewhere. You are below what I thought it might cost. You know, the exercise for a technical team was to really look at numbers. How many people are in the kitty? Remember, the Cabinet's instruction was clear. You are not going to disrupt what the Minister of Finance have presented. Work within the boundaries. So NSFAS has a cohort of students, even right now for 2018, who have applied, approved, waiting for confirmation of admission. The admission criteria remains. Not to say people will just rock and go to universities, no. It's the status quo remains the same. So those are the people who, the difference then, what's the difference is that instead of a low threshold, we have increased it to 350, which could be verified in consultation with Treasury to really make sure that those families are in that level. And then, of course, there are already those who are in NSFAS cohort for second year. The first year already they had was a loan, but we have said for them it will be fair to make sure that it's converted to a grant now, because that there's a new policy. There's a question of the old debt. People have said, we are not creating or competing with SASSA, social development. We will look at people who have qualified, who are working with the SARS, and they should be able to plow back to the fund, because we are creating also a culture where people commit to their country. Community service, we've got feedback from many people, it doesn't work very well. That's why we hope Treasury will help us to push for the graduate tax so that people plow back. And on the side of the department, we continue with necessary policies.
Okay, so just backtracking, so you're saying that this was actually well thought through, and a whole host of ministers, including the finance minister, because there's speculation that he wasn't included as he should have been. But you're saying everybody was looking at the numbers way before this announcement and was happy with the announcement?
Definitely. And some of the meetings were held at Treasury. the Minister of Finance himself, even before he went to meet with the rating agents, we gave an articulation as to, especially now there's been an attempt to link this to economic growth. Because really, without knowledge economy, without skills, with many young people excluded because their parents cannot afford, we're not going to win the battle against this negative economic outlook we're facing today.
All right, I'd love to talk to you more about implementation. Let's just hear quickly how this was announced by the President at the start of the special National Elective Conference of the ANC.
This morning, we announced a plan for fee-free higher education for students from poor and working class backgrounds. Which will be implemented in a fiscally sustainable manner following the release of her Commission of Inquiry into Higher Education. So, we have released a report this morning. Which deals with that situation in good details. Education is one of the most important tasks of the country. As you know, in our 5 priorities, we made it priority number 1. Because it is only when we solve the education problem in South Africa shall we change South Africa for real, when everybody is empowered. So we have to invest in education. And we have responded, therefore, to the Hare Commission this morning, partly because this organization in its conferences had taken a serious decision which needed implementation.
The Minister of Higher Education and Training, Hlengiwe Mkhize, and there was a bit of, do you agree with me, a bit of lack of enthusiasm there. He had to say,
No.
What was that all about?
Interesting. You know, since we came here, conferences are like that. You know, you lose appetite. I don't know what is it. Even if at a psychological level.
Conference fatigue.
Yeah, no, it's not fatigue. It comes with excitement and anxiety. People are tense. They don't want anything. It's almost like saying, let's vote. Because this build up, it really makes people's minds to focus on this. I mean, after this, when I sat down, I saw one of the deputy secretaries of the SACP talking to me, excited, and said, we are pleased that you didn't go wide with this in terms of the cohort. One of the delegates here from the union said to me, bring back the educational summit of the alliance. Now we are talking. So they heard him, they were excited, but I'm telling you, people's hearts and minds are what is going to be announced this afternoon.
Sure, of course, the top
that's
6.
Why they were here.
Yeah, understandable. But this is so important, not only for students, but also for people who are watching the economy and concerned that the rating agencies are now going to downgrade us again, because we're putting strain on the fiscus. We're going to have to take money from somewhere because the money is just not coming in. So you were explaining to me, and I think this is really valuable, how this will be implemented from next year. So over 5 years, heading to fee-free education. So families, students from families earning 350,000 Rand or less will now get basically a grant. So it's not even a loan from NSFAS, it's a grant. They are going to get free education. And you are saying that the money is there, But you're saying it still could be a tax or not. So where is the money coming from for that specifically?
You know, when we talk about student tax and other things, maybe we shouldn't even bring them now. It's a question of saying, how are we going to sustain a fund if everything is free?
Yeah.
So we need a plow-back plan from students. And in work, you know, remember we're focusing on knowledge economy and also critical skills. So, you know, it's about boosting the economy, creating a conducive environment, because more than 25% jobless growth or unemployment, it creates a very risky environment for investors.
So maybe a graduate tax down the line, but what about paying for this? Because even university chancellors are asking, where's the money going to come from? Where does this put them? How is it going to work in January or February next year?
Yeah. You know, Dr. Di Parker, heading universities, was meeting with some of them today. I said to her, please indicate to them that any form of untruthfulness will be a big problem for me, because we have been engaging with them all the way, even before it was official, exactly for this reason. Even the registrars, they had to meet with officials to look at the status of preparation. They know which way we've been wanting to go. And for them, it's even clear that we haven't opened up, destroyed the boundaries of NSFAS at all. The only thing is to make sure that students don't drop out because of lack of accommodation, food, and all the things they require for them to remain in schools. So we have worked very closely with them. You know, even the subcommittee of the ANC, personally, I addressed them. Minister Naledi Pandor, who is the chair, made sure that I addressed them. Every stakeholder has been prepared for what was coming our way.
But again, simply, where does the money come from? Because we've got a very tight budget. So if this is free for these students from next year, who's going to lose out? Or will taxes go up in February? Is that a given?
You know, the Minister of Finance, the reason why the technical team had to work so hard, because they had to look at the numbers and to look at what was a gap between what is already budgeted for. Remember, this budget vote of NSFAS is a long-standing committee policy position from the 52nd conference, the 57, the previous conferences of the ANC, including the policy conference in June. So it's not a new budget vote item, but now it meant increasing it. So they had to look at the top-up, where is it going to come from? And one of the things I want to refer you to is that 2015, 2016, when this whole Fees Must Fall campaign started, within my department alone, we could get about 5 billion from some of the projects. The Minister of Finance, normally when they announce the budget vote, let's say in January, they don't expect the public to take responsibility of how has he integrated and coordinated programs. It's usually done in consultation with departments. Already Cabinet set envelopes to people, the last Cabinet meeting, because they have access to our budget and programs, all of us, on a daily basis, our expenditure patterns, where we are, what is unused, what is going to delay for the next 3 or 4 years. So it's something which is done very carefully. That's why the Minister of Finance said, when I announce my budget vote early next year, I will give the details. And all of us, we get the budget from them really without getting those details. You only get them when you sign off on paper. But there's a seriousness with this which we don't take lightly, and hence we have taken longer, because we didn't want to go beyond the approved boundaries and create a crisis for the country.
Okay, so you've confirmed to us that the money is still being found. There's going to be a bit of rejigging within Treasury, but you don't believe it will be crippling? Because some people have been concerned that we've got an already strained budget, and this can be crippling if implemented too quickly at the wrong time, under the wrong circumstances.
No, it's not. You know, this is so important for the country. We are sitting with the crisis. If too many young people, they drop out of the university because government cannot fund them, it's a serious thing in terms of our resolve to improve the economic outlook of this country. High levels of unemployment is a big risk. A huge percentage of young people who don't have skills is a big risk for this country. So we set the technical teams because we have to balance things. We have to find sustainable solutions. Exclusion of those young people, I don't think it gives a hope to investors that South Africa we are building today is sustainable.
On the other hand, though, we have research coming out from last year saying that 10-year-olds cannot understand what they're reading. There's a crisis with literacy at a much lower level. What would you say to people who say that government is responding right now to the university voices because they simply are louder and can march on the streets?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. What we have taken from the Judge Hare Commission report is to look even at the ECDs, because you see, OECD is sitting in Paris, how they compare countries and they evaluate the levels, ability to read, to write, creative thinking, all those things. It starts quite early with early childhood education and training. And what we are doing also is higher education. Remember, we fund some universities to focus on teacher training and education. But also within the same amount of money for universities and TVET colleges, we are showing a bias towards the development of critical skills, so that in terms of manufacturing, production, ICTs, all the things that we require, we boost the levels of competences. It's about human capital to do the things which we have to do to bring back the voter confidence. Remember, it's not only about how you spend your money. The things we are talking about here, dealing with issues like corruption, mismanagement, inefficiencies and incompetences, the things that, the way the business as usual type of managing the budget, those are things that, you know, Treasury has made clear at a highest political level. The ministers have said, I'm prepared to go all the way to invest in the skills. But of course, we are working now in partnership with the private sector, BUSA and all the business units in South Africa, and all the organized bodies are on board to say, we'll do our part. Government, these are conditions. So there's a revolution. The president announced a small piece, but there's bigger work. He didn't even say the colleges are going to go under Operation Pakisa to look at the whole value chain of developing the skills.
I think everybody, you're right, agrees. Education is key. We look at the country in the future, it's determined by the level of education now. If I can ask you just once more to respond to some criticism, because people have been scathing about the timing of this, you know, waiting till just moments before President Jacob Zuma has replaced himself, announcing it. Some say it would be a poison chalice to you and the ministers who have to make this work. And let's just hear what Hlengiwe Mkhize had to say earlier. He was very scathing. Take a listen.
There has been a structural tug of war between the National Treasury as well as the Office of the President in terms of where the locus of power is in making decisions. The Constitution is very clear that the National Treasury is where the ultimate management of the fiscus rests, and the obligation is made on the finance minister to be able to have muscle and be able to control the budgeting processes and planning processes. But the president hasn't been okay with that, and I think now making the announcement without following what one may regard as the due process from a public finance planning and budgeting perspective, it's a power game. Yeah. But the question is what the objective of the president is, and there are questions arising as to how whether this is not disingenuous. He's announcing it from back to front without following a consultative process. It seems like even the Minister of Finance was shocked about the decision, but he's playing to a social need out there. The students have raised this, and in fact, this has been the biggest political activism of young people in this country has been around the terrain of higher education funding.
Okay, and others have said it, populism, a power play. Your response to that?
Yeah, you see, this is scary. You know, broadcasting has to do something. If you are an opinion maker, one assumes you understand that you have the accurate, objective, authentic basis. In other words, facts and figures. You see, I mean, to make a statement.
Isn't that a problem that he didn't have the facts and figures in front of him? That should have been disseminated by government.
But it's scary because you want people to take communication seriously. You know, there has been a due process. You know, all the officials, including the incoming leadership, especially Deputy President Ramaphosa, Hlengiwe Mkhize, the outgoing, the SG, the chairperson, we've met with all of them and sat till very late. And so it's reckless, actually, to say there was no due process, because since the Judge Hair Commission report was released, we've taken a lot of time to look at it. And what we are saying today is in line with all the other ministerial committees that were formed by Blaine Zimande, because there has been a search for really what is the solution. Why are we not winning this battle? We have NSFAS, but students are dropping out, they are unhappy. And it became clear that what the threshold we came up with quite early has not been increased in line with the inflation rate. And we haven't been responding to the complete needs of students. So there has been a due process. We have to correct what he's saying. The president, you know, to say the Minister of Finance, we wanted to announce before he go away, and he instructed the technical teams to work hard and look at all aspects of the announcement.
And I do think the beauty of broadcasting is that you can be here and correct that and give us that information. Maybe some of it should have come out before, because there's been a lot of speculation, as there always is around education. And my final question to you is, I think this has been one of the biggest criticisms of President Jacob Zuma's regime. There's been many, but the economic decline and education, which looks ahead to the economy of the future, given those sort of things, that the 10-year-olds that can't read, the statistician general once told me that the seaters are just not working. If you look at the numbers, people go in, they come out, they're not doing they're not better off. You haven't nailed your colours to the wall, but you spoke about a female presidency. So what I'd like you to respond to is the concern that if Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma comes in, it'll be the same old, and none of these deep structural issues will be fixed.
You see, I really believe the kind of leaders who stood up and said they want to be counted, they are part of this deeper search and questioning of where we are, where we are going. I have my own doubt whether any one of them will come in and it will be business as usual. I told you that the outgoing officials now, they asked us questions on this exercise, on what was released by President, almost till after 1 a.m. in the morning, because they wanted to be convinced that whatever we do is aligned to our aspirations for a better economic outlook. I think there is a deeper understanding now, as against where we were when we started in 1994, that we need to boost the economy. We need to decisively invest in the skills that are required. Also working in partnership with the private sector, especially around education, is much clearer and stronger now more than it was yesterday. So the TVET colleges, we know the importance of critical skills. I said, we've now said early next year we should put them under Operation Pakisa to make a clear diagnosis of what needs to be done for them to produce the skills that are required by the economy. We're partnering with the Germans. We met with them after the approval by Monday. But also remember, the policy of the ANC earlier in June said phase in. I don't know whether any of the officials will come back to a policy conference and not announce. He would have been in a difficulty, the president, if we had not finished our work of consultation and finalization and approval by the Minister of Finance and the team.
Okay, so it had to come in now, and now it's time for the next president to run with it.
Yeah, but also universities were saying, we want to know before we close. We initially were supposed to finalize everything by the 6th of December when their council meetings are sitting. We failed. We promised them the following week. Everybody have been talking about the status of preparation for next year.
All right, thank you so much for discussing this very big, hot topic with us. Thank you very much, Minister Hlengiwe Mkhize, the relatively new Minister of Higher Education, clarifying a whole lot of issues about that announcement of fee-free education. She says there was proper consultation. All the ministers were on board, and this isn't going to be a huge shock to the economy to find the finances from where there's waste or excess in other departments. But that will be clarified by the Minister of Finance next year. All right, we wrap it up for now, but we'll be back again live from Nasrec in not too long a period, and everybody waiting. The nail-biting wait continues for the announcement of the ANC's top 6 for now. Ciao.